Hi, I'm Sarah Beth Goer.
And I'm Jennifer Jill Araya.
Welcome to the Crafting Audiobooks podcast, where we discuss the art and craft of audiobooks, and we aim to go deep quick. Hi, everyone. Sarah here. I am flying solo today because Jennifer is in Chile visiting family, and I am here so excited here with Paul Gagne, Director of Production. Welcome, Paul.
Hi, Sarah. How are you? Happy to be here today.
Excited to be interviewing you. Okay, so we love to dive deep quick. So I'm going to jump right into the questions. Please name a narrator whose craft you deeply admire and tell us why.
Jim Dale always comes to mind first.
A classic.
yeah. And why I listened to the Harry Potter audiobooks around the time I knew I would be overseeing production for Scholastic Audio. That was part of my indoctrination into audiobooks, and I just thought he did everything absolutely perfectly. I love the way he creates characters in his voice. He doesn't do a different voice for each character. He portrays their personalities. Which I really love. And once I got past the first book, he almost could have dropped all the said Ron and said Harry and said Hermione and all that stuff. You always knew exactly who was speaking because he just took on their personalities every time he read a line of dialogue. And so that was all perfect. And he is just a master storyteller. I love everything he does.
What do you think that means? It's very, in the craft, it's easy to identify things like, wow, these character voices are really strong, and here's why. I love that you named that he brought the energy of the characters to life. It wasn't just a voice change. But you also said he's a master storyteller, and that's another element of the craft. What precisely does that mean to be a master storyteller?
He is in the story every moment. I don't know how to describe it better than that, but he's committed to it. He makes it entertaining. He draws you in, and you can't get out of it.
It's so present, and this world just wraps around you so intimately.
Yes.
That's juicy. Well, here's another question about what you consider to be great narration. Great narration is in some regards subjective. So what's a quality that you really enjoy in the narration craft that somebody else might disagree with or find less important than you do?
I think that there's something that I've heard from time to time when I've been on different panels and in different workshops. I know that a lot of people in the audiobook world feel that if there's something if there's a cue in the dialogue, like the word laughed or somebody shouted, there is a school of thought that if you are saying it, you don't need to do it. So if you're saying Harry laughed, you don't need to hear a laugh. I tend to, and particularly for the kind of youth-oriented titles that we produce, I actually do like doing a little bit of that. It's something that I enjoy hearing. It's something that I think kids enjoy hearing. I don't think it needs to go to the extent of you're literally stopping and laughing. But
right.
It's something that could be kind of organically woven into the reading of the line of dialogue. Like the line can be read with a slight chuckle.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a specific, subjective difference that, two different producers or two different narrators might have. And I did find myself even before you said it, I was like, oh, but does it depend on the genre? Would we want that more for the youth-oriented books that Scholastic and Weston Woods do? And then you said it, and it's interesting.
In my opinion, yes, that's Yeah.
Yeah, and I almost in my gut feel it depends on the book itself. Like it would be too simplistic to say, well, kids books and teen books, yes, and like literary fiction, no. Like, well, it depends. Like there might be a very serious kids book that like I've read, like very heavy, like teen YA that where it just wouldn't. It's a very serious matter, and it might not quite feel right. And I've read like adult literary fiction where like the tone is such that, right? So I love that. I love that very specific point, and I love that um the nuance that we can't just paint and be like this genre yes, this genre no, that every
Right.
book is
Right.
unique.
Right. It's all about the character of the book.
The
Yeah.
character of the book. Nobody's used that phrase yet on the podcast. I love that. The character of the book. What is something that you've learned about your craft over time? And this is a big question. You are, a veteran in the business. You have quite a lauded career. What is something specific you've learned about your craft over time that has a big impact in your day-to-day work?
Oh my gosh, that's there are so many ways I could go with that question.
Well, we have time, like, pick
So
a couple and let us
so I'll,
know.
I'll I'll pick a couple. So one thing that comes to mind is purely a technical thing. I started my career as a sound editor at Weston Woods, and it was back in the days when we were still recording and editing quarter-inch reel-to-reel tape. And we would put a lot of effort into like having super clean voiceover recordings. We would remove breaths and slug the breath with room tone.
Hmm.
We would take out little like mouth clicks and lip noises and stuff like that. And that was a very intensive process where it could take anywhere from a few hours to a few days if somebody was particularly clicky, and depending on the length of the story that you were recording, to go through and rocking the tape back and forth and marking off these little 16th of an inch fragments of tape where that lip smack is, cutting that out with a razor blade and splicing tape and
Wow.
taping it back together. And at the end of the day, you'd be literally covered with these tiny little fragments of tape that were the lip smacks that you took out. And your fingers would be covered with band-aids if you weren't careful with the
Oh,
razor
no.
blades. So like when digital technology came along, that really kind of revolutionized the editing process.
Yeah.
It made it so much easier. And of course, as that as that technology has evolved, it's possible to do things like where you used to have to go in with your little pencil tool and write out the lip smacks, or still remove them, but remove them digitally. Now there's a filter that you could put on, a plug-in filter, and it recognizes those sounds and removes them automatically. So that I think that's had a huge impact on workflow.
Mm-hmm. Big revolutionary change.
The revolutionary change over a great long period of time, and I've been doing this for 47 years now. Um,
I was intrigued. You said that back in the day, you all would take out the breath noise and cover it with room tone, and that seems like a big change to me from then to now.
we still do that to a certain degree if if breathing feels natural, if it feels like a natural part of the performance, it stays in. If it starts to get intrusive, we kind of like to take them out and just replace it with room tone. If like for example, if somebody is taking an audible gulp of air before reading each sentence, blah 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 blah.
Right, when it's distractive
And
instead of like the
it
natural breath of the character or of
right,
the when I say the narrator, not the performer, but the narrator of the book. If it feels in flow, then it stays. But there are disruptive breaths that get taken out.
right,
That makes sense.
right. Right. Which kind of dovetails into one of my other answers to that question.
Oh,
One of the
perfect.
things that I've learned was to listen to librarians. We attend the American Library Association's conferences every year. They have different awards committees, including notable children's recordings, which is a yearly list that they compile of what they feel are the most notable recordings in the year, in the preceding year, and they hold open meetings where they discuss and evaluate the titles that they've nominated for the list. And it's really a great educational process to hear what they're hearing, what they like and what they don't like. And that's one of the things that kind of came up is breathiness. Is
Interesting.
that they notice breathiness. They notice when there are a lot of mouth noises, and it could make the difference between whether one of your titles is considered recommended or truly notable. So, yeah,
That's fascinating. What else are the librarians noting?
they're noting things like we do a lot of picture book titles, for example, and we have read along mixes for each picture book title. If we'll have page turn signals, chime sounds or whatever for where the child reading along in the book is supposed to turn the page. If those chime sounds feel like too loud or too intrusive or like something like they're ripping you out of the story every time you hear it, they will comment on that. So that we've sort of evolved our approach a little bit to creating kind of individualized page turn sounds that sound like maybe a little more organic to the music. If it's something that has like a Cuban acoustic music, we might use a percussion instrument as the page turn sound that doesn't appear elsewhere in the music, but is in that same character, in that same something that might be used in that same genre of music. So it's clear that this is the page turn sound and not part of the music.
That's wonderful, that integration, going back to what is a great storyteller. If we create that immersive world, now we're looking at like how do we support that immersive world with the tech side, like removing intrusive breaths and the integrating the page chime sound so that it feels like a part of the universe. That's really beautiful to marry those two.
Yeah, yeah, and it's great. I mean, these meetings are like having a focus group of absolute diehard audiobook enthusiasts.
I was just thinking the same thing. I'm like, these open meetings are just wonderfully handy.
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
these at the conference them itself? Or is it,
They were up until COVID. They do them virtually now.
can anyone attend, or are only the publishers invited? Or
Publishers are invited. I would have to look into whether anyone else can
I'm so
attend.
fascinated. I want to overhear the
Probably.
librarians discussing what they're hearing in the titles. That's like, talk about a juicy craft opportunity. Hear from
Yeah,
the listeners, the expert listeners.
yeah, yeah.
Did anything else come to mind about?
So what was the third thing? There was a third thing that came to mind.
Hmm.
Yes, it is that the within the audiobook community, within the community of audiobook narrators, there is such a wide, wonderful range of diversity and representation
Mm.
that has kind of really revealed itself over the past 5 or 6 years as there has been more of a focus on representation. And it has really kind of refined how we approach our casting process.
Mm.
And it's anything from the obvious things like ethnic or cultural heritage, to neurodivergencies, LGBTQIA, all these sort of subvariants within those that no matter what the representation you're looking for like the main character in any given book, we've gotten to the point where it's you stand a good chance of finding that in the community.
Broadening horizons so that the art is more accurately representing humanity.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, we've made it to our very last question. And the last question we usually all answer. Jennifer is not here, so it'll just be you and me answering.
Okay.
And I'll start so you have kind of a model of how it goes. So the question is, what's exciting you about the craft right now today? And you can answer, broadly about the industry in general. You can answer very specifically about a book you're working on, however you want to interpret that question. For me, what's exciting me today is I was thinking about, in audiobooks, we don't usually have the luxury of time. We have a very short period in which to record, really, so we got to keep moving. And that can feel kind of sad, like, oh, we can't rehearse and play and explore as much as one might like to. But the cool part is that the pace of our work kind of forces us to strengthen the ability to trust our guts, to trust ourselves, to be decisive and clear, to just trust when it does make sense to punch in and try that again. It does make sense to take a little time to play or explore here, even though we have a limited ability to do that. And so I think that's a really exciting and beautiful thing, that because we don't have time to doubt ourselves, that means we can really powerfully receive the gift in audiobooks of trusting ourselves, whether that be the narrator self-recording or whether that be the director working with the narrator. And that was a really exciting sort of turn it on its ear concept to me of like, I could complain that we don't have time, or I could celebrate that it forces us to trust our guts and trust our instruments.
It's a lot like, and it is essentially you're recording a live performance.
But an unrehearsed
it's
live
like
performance,
an,
so it's almost it's like
true.
it's a little bit improvisational in a way. Like
Yeah.
we have such little prep time and no rehearsal time usually.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's right. You were recording a live performance, but like an improv, like you got to trust your instincts in the same way you got to do it
Right.
in improv.
Right. And that's where magic happens, If, you look at a stage performance, it's not going to be exactly alike from one time to the next, and if those instincts are there, something really magical happens.
My favorite filmmaker team calls it, the Duplass brothers call it lightning in a bottle. They like to do a lot of improvisational work on their films, and they're seeking that lightning in a bottle. And I heard an interview with them once where they're like, when we're not capturing that lightning in a bottle, we like go take a walk and explore, like, what do we need to do to get that lightning there?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
What's exciting you right now today?
What's exciting me right now is the way the boundaries of what constitutes an audiobook are
Mm,
kind of stretching.
mhm.
These are the things that I really love working on, where projects where you're able to introduce some sound design.
Mm,
So one case in point would be Brian Selznick's book Big Tree, which started out as a project for Steven Spielberg, where he wanted to tell the story of nature, the history of nature on our planet from nature's perspective. And Brian chose to use these two sycamore seeds who go on this kind of life adventure, and it spans eons of time. And there's a lot of illustrated story content within the book, in addition to the to his prose, the text of the book. So we kind of use the illustrations as the basis for creating kind of an immersive world. Um,
mm.
so there are a lot of nature sounds. There are things like a dinosaur walking through and knocking trees down, which is represented in the illustrations, but not really described in the text. So we did that with sound effects and music. Those are the things that excite me, getting to kind of stretch the boundaries beyond just a voice telling the story.
Yeah, I'm watching your eyes light up, and I feel like we have a theme of this episode, that immersive world. And I can see how it's so exciting to expand the tools we use to create that immersive world. And I can only imagine the fun that was for you and whoever was in charge of creating that sound design.
Yeah, Steve Sayardo, our sound engineer at Weston Woods and Scholastic, did all the work on that, and he does a great job.
One of those exciting moments where you really get to put your hand in the clay. I mean, we always
Yeah.
get to put our hand in the clay. Every audiobook is its own creation, but to sort of stretch outside of what we normally do is an exciting creative endeavor.
Yeah, and a lot of we've been doing a lot of graphic novels and graphic memoirs that provide opportunities to do that, where we're doing like more full cast productions with lots of sound design and music. It's like creating little movies in sound.
How involved is when you're creating those little movies in sound? How involved is the producer in that process with Steve? Like, is it mostly Steve creating that world and you kind of listen and go, great, good work? Or are you like working side by side? Like, how does that collaborative process work?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. It's a lot of it gets scripted. We do an adaptation script where we are like kind of reviewing the book and finding those areas where the illustrations are telling the story, where like if without the illustrations, if you just use the words in the book and the word balloon dialogue within the book, the listener is not going to get the same story content. So there's some adaptation involved. Very often it's writing additional text, additional narration for the main character to read. Very often it will be music and sound effects. So we go through and identify all those areas and script out something.
I don't know how you have time to do all the projects that you need to be doing. Like with the small team there, how does everybody get everything done? It's amazing.
We have writers that we hire for that. So,
oh, excellent. Okay, so you've got a focused job description there.
Yeah. And then from there, it's an organic process. Steve will work off, or whoever the sound designer, sound editor will work off of the script, and wherever a specific sound effect suggestion appears in the script, put that in, just start to build that immersive world with the music and the sounds and the narration and voices. And then we'll listen to it and hear what's working, what could be working a little differently, what we might embellish by adding another sound effect that we hadn't thought of. And there's a lot of back and forth. We probably go through at least 3 or 4 mixes before we have something that we feel like it's ready.
Thank you. It's so cool to know more about what that process is. Thank you so much for that. Well, Paul, it's just been so wonderful having you here. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for listening to Crafting Audiobooks. We've been your hosts, Sarah Beth Goer and Jennifer Jill Araya, wishing you happy audiobook listening and/or crafting. Bye for now.